lasts. If not, Billy, you're up. Singing the hits.
It's all my part.
Either Mike
Introductions?
What are we doing? We are speaking in microphones.
We are high on panel.
We are on up panel.
Sure, go ahead. Tell me who you are, Mike.
I'm Mike Warlock.
And out in the end there, we have with the beautiful gray hair.
I'm Stephen Norton.
Stephen Norton. This is Billy Maria. Okay, we're going to take some questions. How about over here?
Hey, who are you?
I'm Rob Benedict. You didn't know that already, then you haven't been listening. Hi.
I'm Pau.
I know.
I have a question for Billy specifically. I was at the Evening News for your first solo show, and it was wonderful. And I was wondering if you can talk a little bit about your solo writing and performing and how that's been going for you in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things that's just, I'm just constantly looking for just it's almost escapism in a way when you kind of write something. With Swain, we have so many creative people in this band, and we have such a huge amount of song and content that comes through. It's almost impossible to complete everything, so I just took myself and set aside some time and just wrote a bunch of songs that really meaningful to me, both about family and life, wins and losses. It was just a really fun process. Rob and I just recently finished it.
And that'll be on your, is that for your
Yeah, it's gonna be on it now. And it's just been, it's been a really liberating process, just kind of get into my own head and just, sit around there, which is a scary place sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. But yeah, so I'll be playing some stuff tomorrow on that second show. That as well.
Yeah, tomorrow our second show is sort of, it's gonna turn into sort of a
Party.
Yeah, party.
Party.
Yeah, we're gonna shift around. We might do Bizarro Swain, which is where we all play different instruments. I'm actually not in Bizarro Swain. No, I was never in Bizarro Swain. I'm a fan.
One of the ideas we had, we talked about this.
Okay.
What is Bizarro Swain?
Okay, good question.
I play drums.
Billy's the drummer.
I play piano, or guitar, or bass.
I play piano.
And you're the lead
guitar.
singer.
I'm saying,
And you're the lead singer, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this, there's two guitar players, right? There should be two guitar players, so you play guitar, you play guitar.
Right.
Rob plays bass.
Rob plays
I
bass.
love playing the
Yeah,
bass.
Rob plays bass.
That's he loves playing bass.
But we talked about actually just getting in a room and just rehearsing as Bizarro Swain and seeing what happens, and maybe release an album that way, which could be really kind of neat.
Yeah.
So I want to hear Robbie on that.
Oh man, I love to slap that bass.
Oh, you slap that bass.
Give you. Over here.
Hi.
Hi.
Which one of your songs would you love to have on Supernatural?
So yeah, we have 3 of our songs were on Supernatural.
Worlds Collide.
Worlds Collide,
Big One.
Big One, and Pop Tart Rocket. Those were on Supernatural, but I think our song Wave is pretty cinematic. I think that would work well. A Wave might work well in Supernatural. What else of ours maybe has like a classic rock feel to it?
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
There's quite a few songs.
The new one that's on the new album coming up.
Yeah.
Whatever. Right? What's the name of that one?
Fortunately, the show's over.
No, but I'm just saying, if the show was still on, it'd be a candidate.
Yeah.
Yes, there's lots of stuff on the
My favorite thing though about that was like when Worlds Collide was released, it was a really, I remember we were all tuning in, it was like, and I remember like my solo started and then immediately it cut to AC/DC.
Yeah.
So it's like I had a crossover with Angus on TV. It was really cool. Yeah. I don't know what else.
I think Wave, Vanished Hand maybe,
Yeah.
Foolish Romance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I think a lot of our songs really fit into it.
Basement of No Hope wouldn't be pretty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why not?
Someone else sings.
Exactly. Yeah, we loved it. We were always so flattered when they chose one of our songs. Phil Secretia was really the producer and director of the series, he was always very supportive of us and helped us get music in. And then Rich in the last season, I actually was like, hey Rich, you directed this episode. If there's any spot for a Louden Swain song, it'd be nice to get in season 15, you know, just slot that in. He's, oh, great idea. And then he picked Pop-Tart Heart.
Yep. It was on the radio show.
It was on the radio show, a scene that I was in.
Yes.
Which I forgot until just now.
Called radio show?
No, it's called like,
Shack Up Radio?
no, it's called like,
Radio Shed. Nice.
good
You were
call.
subtle with
That'd be a good yes or no question.
Yeah.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hey guys.
Hi.
I couldn't let it go. Rob, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Can you please share a Tim Amundsen story?
Tim Amundsen story. What's a Tim Amundsen story that relates to the band? Is there a good story?
There was that piano that was really funny about Psych.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
We were there for that. That was like a few cons ago.
it was Vegas this year. Yeah.
Vegas this year, Tim Amundsen was telling the story that on site, every time they had a guest star that they really loved, when that guest star finished, the crew and the cast and everybody would sing the guest star happy birthday. And that was something that Psych always did. And I was like, I guest starred on Psych, and I didn't get a happy birthday. And the boy, Richard had a field day. Richard, that was the best thing Richard ever heard. So we all had a really good laugh about that.
And then we didn't let it go the whole weekend.
No.
Yeah,
Right, did not let it go.
Kept on like just taking it like, oh yeah, the crew guy, they said.
Right.
Yeah, everybody got a happy birthday,
Oh,
but
remember
not
that
that.
extra guy.
Yeah. And then I said, and the ironic thing was, it was my birthday. Which it wasn't, but it was a funny joke.
Well, it's my birthday, so thank you guys.
Oh, well, happy birthday. Perfect. Hi.
Hi, yesterday Robert asked you about your first convention, which led me to thinking about how did you become the host of the convention and how did y'all become the house band?
Well,
Richard Swain Jr. production.
yeah, Rich at one point was asked to host just a one-off Vegas convention, because Vegas is a very big deal. It's a 4-day convention. They invite a lot of people to the show, a lot of guests. And so they asked him to host that one. He said, you know what, I'll do it if Rob's band can play and can be kind of like the Tonight Show. And he'd kind of wear a suit and we would wear, and we would be the band. And we're like, oh, the band was like, okay, well, we'll do it, but we're not going to be Louden Swain. We're going to pose as a different band. And we called ourselves the Elastic Waist Band, and we wore like leisure suits. Mike had a long blonde wig. I had a wig with a headband, and we all had alter egos. Norton, you were
Hot Carl.
Hot Carl with a
And I
K.
was Sir Richard Furlong.
And he was British, but his accent was
Never
iffy.
really bad.
Johnny Hot Pockets. That was Johnny Hot Pockets.
Johnny Hot Pockets, and I was just Tango. And so that worked. So for that convention, it really worked. And then they started it worked, so they started having us do that more often. And then it got to the point where we were like, yeah, we kind of just want to be ourselves. Because people didn't really realize we were Louden Swain. They thought we were the Elastic Waist Band. And at first it was funny, and then
It
it
was
was like,
funny. Well, Richard loved it. I think it was really Richard's idea to have us. I think he just wanted to get us dressed up. And as soon as Shepard got involved, he's like, you guys gotta ditch the costume.
yeah, then Mark Shepard kind of took over, and he's like, listen,
No, this isn't working. No more costumes. Stop wearing that silly wig. You guys aren't a joke.
yeah, exactly.
As a musicians, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. At one point when that first weekend, Jared was like, hey, get it off the Elastic Waist Band. We're like, oh no, everybody's gonna think that's what we are. So then we changed it to our real band. And then Richard and I decided to start sort of co-hosting. And it's kind of organically morphed into this thing where Rich and I were co-hosting. and the band is on stage, and then we started doing the concert on Saturday night. And now Richard doesn't come to, he does about half the con, so that's when I kind of took over with the hosting job, which is super fun and a challenge, to be like, because when Richard's hosting, he's like, give it up for David Hayden Jones, and then I'm like, I'm a lady, and I start singing the song. How's it go? So it's weird now. I'm gonna be like David Hayden Jones. Every girl's crazy about do both, but it's super fun to do. So it's just kind of organically wound up. This is what it is now. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Beth. I was just wondering, when you guys were in high school, what band or album was just lock yourself in your room and listen to it for hours over and over again, and you still hear it and just go right back to that place?
So,
For me, it would be U2 Unforgettable Fire. It was Pride in the Name of Love, and that album that had that on it, and Bad was on that album. That was the one I would listen to it all the time in high school, and I listened to it while I studied. And it was just like, and every time I hear that album now, it brings me back, and makes me emotional, and I was going through kind of a tough time, and it really got me through that album in particular. It was emotional for me. So. How about you guys?
I would say in high school it was probably Metallica Black Album maybe, or Use Your Illusion 1 or 2. Yeah, those were nonstop.
It was an Appetite for Destruction, girls.
Yeah,
There you go. I think I had 5 in rotation, heavy rotation. It was the Who, Who's Next, The Cure, Head on the Door, Queen is Dead by the Smiths, Rush, Moving Pictures.
yeah, for me, the first record was actually the first record like that one with Shout at the Devil. And then in high school, probably was something like definitely Stereo. So individual, or maybe the Guns N' Roses record.
Were you a big Poison guy? You mentioned you listened to Poison.
I did listen to it, but not as much. But it was always like it was all that 80s rock.
Oh, and you and yeah,
And for Rob and I, it's REM that kind of brought us together.
Yeah, like Robin and Mike are the pop side, Billy and I are the rock side.
Yeah, I think I would say pop. I mean,
Well,
we're
it's like-
indie alternative college metal.
Debbie Gibson, Madonna, you know.
Come on, no. Say
alternative pop radio.
New wave.
Honestly, Mike and I are more.
Whitney
You guys
Houston.
are like that hair band. You know what I'm saying.
Mike and I are more into emotional music. Mike and I are more the emotional music, and these two are more like metal.
Put things through a wall.
And this is just an observation for Billy that basically every band that was mentioned, you guys wore eyeliner, and that's just me throwing that out there for a friend. So think about it.
I don't know if it's Slash over eyeliner. I don't know. Maybe.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta get a hat.
Only if Mike applies it.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
I'll play.
Now it's getting weird.
So you gotta
Is it?
do Billy's makeup for tomorrow.
Is it getting weird? I mean, come on. Sure.
Hi guys, my name is Jill. I used to be in a cover band, so I was wondering what's a song that you guys would love to cover or have covered that's been your favorite? Because mine personally has always been Valerie. It's so much fun to do and get to go along with it. So what is your either need to sing or like an instrument?
That one's great. We've done that. That's a great song. I love the original song. I've done that song too a few times. I really love doing whipping post. That was such a challenge to learn for all of us, and then we kind of brought it together. And Jensen sang with us, and sang the lead, and I was just once we got it, it was like I just wanted to keep playing it. So I really loved whipping post.
I like when you shot the arm. That was a lot of fun. Let's see that.
We did a long time ago this the Radiohead song. Was it Stop Whispering? Yeah, that was yeah.
What was the Bruno Mars tune? Jensen?
Did a Bruno Mars tune?
Yeah, it was like Bruno Mars and somebody else.
Oh, like a song?
Well, it was Chris. Yeah, that was a super fun song to play.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was a super fun song to play live. I also like the Chris Staples too.
Purple Rain was great.
Oh man, Purple Rain.
Chris Stapleton did Purple Rain.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure he's done it.
in terms of one we haven't done, gosh, it's always something I'm listening to where I'm like, oh, this would be fun to play. I don't know, Paranoid Android. Hotel California. Okay,
There you go.
that would be fun to do that solo together.
You know what? I was about to say, at least no one said Freebird. Who said that?
The same guy that's been sitting in the back row.
Yeah, shouting. Bartender for years.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Yes.
So this can be kind of a consensus answer, but if you had to cast your bandmates in a role of supernatural, would they be a hunter, a monster, an angel, or a
Wow. I think Demon.
Demon here.
Yeah, definitely Demon. He would be hunted.
That's not one of the choices, Mike.
Oh, sorry.
But with Hunter or a monster? I think Borja's a hunter.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
And I could see even Norton as an angel.
Yeah.
With the long hair and maybe some wings.
Those locks.
Yeah. So I guess that makes me the monster. It's a monster, but I'm a monster monkey. I'm a monkey monster.
Just sassy
Sassy monkey monster.
You're shaking your tail.
My tail's like hanging on this bar here. Makes no sense.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Thomas. My question for you is how long have you been playing the instrument you play for the band, and what drove you or inspired you to play that instrument, or lead vocals in your case, Rob? What drove you to choose that?
Thank you, Thomas. For me, I have been playing since about the age of 13. I think I was in 7th grade, and a friend of mine, I always really wanted to play drums, but my parents wanted me to play saxophone, piano, and all this other stuff. And so I took lessons for all that stuff. I absolutely hated it. Didn't want to touch it at all. And did the bare minimum to get through that. And then I had a buddy who was also in whose parents bought a drum set. But I knew like from 4th or 5th grade that I wanted to be a drummer. My parents just wouldn't do it. So my buddy got the drum set. He sat down to play and was having a hard time trying to play the set. I went over there and sat down and could play it right away. Like basic beats, nothing fancy, but like I just knew how to play it. Like it was crazy. It was just something that was in me. And so that really inspired me to push my parents to get a drum set. So finally did. So I've been playing forever, but it was just something that was, it literally was something that was in me. It was just, I knew it. I was going to do it. So
Did you start playing the trombone or something?
saxophone.
Saxophone. Yeah, for me, I started playing piano when I was about 7. And so that's all I've been playing.
And then
piano, and then became the bass player kind of by default.
Yeah.
Because
By necessity.
yeah, we were
We had a bass player. We had two
we had guitar players. So one day I just went and bought a bass and just started learning.
Mike's just a very musical guy. And he really was a piano player, then he was a guitar player, and then we needed someone to be a bass player in the band. And we were both guitar players for a while, and he was like, all right, I'll do bass. So, yeah.
And we switched a lot around a lot.
That's right.
Early.
Yeah.
I had two older brothers. One had a drum kit, and then the other brought home a guitar one day. And I loved both of them. I just thought drum kits were really cool. But I never really got around to practicing to do that with drum kit. So I had my brother's guitar, which had like 5 strings on it, I think, and they were real dirty. And I just pick it up and just play these things. It didn't make any sense, but they were just my fingers, everything was just kind of working. And then I had this buddy up in the street from me that his dad also had a drum kit, and he was actually taking guitar lessons just getting hurt. And he was like, hey, you should learn some chords. And he started wow, I can play three chords now, and I went home and I just started playing to albums. The Guns N' Roses, After Construction, and that was instrumental in like just thinking of dexterity and stuff, like learning Sweet Child of Mine, and Welcome to the Jungle, and all those songs just by ear at the time, because they really didn't have a whole lot of like sheet music and stuff like that available where I was, so I just kind of just trust my ear. And then eventually when the tablature came out, I could kind of read tablature, opened up a ton of, doors as far as creative learning and stuff like that. So yeah, I would say a lot of learning as well.
I was 12 when I got my first guitar, but in terms of your question, singing, I was in a couple of musicals in high school, but I remember the first time I sang in public, I really had to figure it out. We had to change the key of the songs in Oliver, and played the Artful Dodger, and we had to change the key of the song so that I could hit the notes. And that's when I first started sort of working on it, I guess. And then I practiced alone in my car a lot. I remember in college one time, someone saw me in my car, and they're like, "I saw you, and you were going to town." I was just singing my ass off in my car. Or I also would go down to the music school on campus, and I would rent a room, a practice room, and I'd go in with my guitar, and I'd make recordings and be singing, playing guitar, started to write my own music. And then I just started. When we first started the band, it was me and Warhawk and a third guy, and we were all guitar players. We were all singers. And then it just kind of organically became that I kind of became the lead singer, and he became the bass player. And the other guy was the guitar player, and it kind of just organically happened. Mike and my voices always really blended together super well. But anyway, when I became the lead singer, I was like, I better work on this, so I started taking voice lessons. But I've just always been identified with singers, and I'm very passionate about the songs we sing, and I guess that's what inspired me. It's I really can get my emotions out through music in that way. I think that's what inspired me to do it.
What was the first song you ever learned on guitar?
On guitar?
Yeah.
Jesse's Girl.
Nice.
Billy.
I learned what was the bass line for Where the Streets Have No Name.
Nice. First song you ever learned on the instrument that you're...
When I first got my own drums at home, I put on Kiss, Lick It Up album. The first song from that album is All Hell's Breaking Loose, which is literally the easiest song I ever play on drums, because it's just doo, cha, doo. It's literally one. That's it. And I was like, I can play with music. Yeah, that's where I started.
I am music.
I am music. I can play drums.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
What's your name?
Shit, I couldn't even come up with anything good because there's been anyway.
Mimosa. Hi, Mimosa.
Hi, Mimosa.
Best show you've been to, both arena and club.
I know my club show right off the top of my head. My club show is Rage Against the Machine at the Roxy Theater in LA. So there were 500 people. It was when I worked at the music industry. It was a private event, and literally I watched it with Slash and the drummer from Guns N' Roses right next to me, and all these other rock star dudes there. And so it was we're shoulder to shoulder with all these. It was crazy, man. It was just the smallest room. It's Rage, so everybody was still doing all the stuff they do at a Rage concert. They're just going crazy. But in the Roxy, where it's 400, 500. So that was amazing. That was just amazing.
You also saw No Doubt play to nobody.
I saw No Doubt play for 5 people at a club in Dallas the year that album, the year the Tragic King came out.
Before they were discovered.
Yeah, and it was that was in, I think, October or September, and then they played the K-Rock Christmas Party, or whatever it was, in December, and blew up. And so that was a really cool show, too.
Best, let's see, I would say Radiohead at the Hollywood Bowl. That was the In Rainbows tour. And then, it's gonna sound strange, but the Soup Dragons, a small club in Boston where I was the victim, well not victim, but I kind of volunteered to be the guy that would body surf basically over the crowd. So yeah, I was the guy just being constantly tossed over the crowd and came home with bruises under my
Oh
arms.
my God.
Is this the same show that you got arrested selling counterfeit merchandise out from?
No, that was,
Mike Borja used to pirate.
that's a strong word. I made these,
A strong but accurate word.
I made these homemade, I made them, silk screened them in my college dorm, like REM green t-shirts, and thought it would be a good idea to make some money and sell them in front of the Boston Garden. And then they got confiscated. Immediately.
You got locked up.
No. Well,
Permanent mark on his record.
yeah.
William?
I would say there's been a lot of arena shows that have been really just blew me away. But I would say seeing Green Day in Melbourne was probably just completely mind blowing. You just watch them really, just front that band and he was literally insane. And then that was one of the very early shows on that whole tour. It was early in the year. And then we're like, we gotta take everybody that we know when we get back to LA to see the Green Day with everything at the Rose Bowl.
Rose Bowl, yeah.
And
Saw them
he
again
saw us at the
that
Rose
year.
Bowl. At
Yeah.
the very end was like the last show on the tour, and he didn't miss a beat. It was the same exact energy. It was just mind-blowing. It was like I never really was never really a huge Green Day fan, but I always had a great appreciation for them. But seeing them live was just a whole different world.
They were entertaining. Yeah. For sure.
And as far as small club shows go, I would say seeing Jeff Buckley at Toad's Place in Connecticut was probably, there was like 30 people there. It was the best.
I changed my answer to Left on Milbury. It was my favorite band.
Left on...
Milbury.
Who's left on
There's left on Laurel.
Left on
Left on Laurel or Lost on Mayberry?
Lost in Mayberry. Yeah, and Lost in Laurel.
King of a
The show was so good he doesn't remember the
It was so good. Blew me away. Love the guitar player. I thought we should hire that guy.
Oh man, that's fun to watch.
What about you, Rory?
Best, it's hard to pick one, but the best arena show would be either U2 Joshua Tree Tour in Kansas City when I was like 17, or Pearl Jam at Lollapalooza 1992 in Chicago. It was pretty amazing. More recently, Radiohead at the Hollywood Bowl was awesome. And a small club, I won a ticket and got to see Jane's Addiction play at the Roxy. Yeah, which sometimes big bands like that will do the small gigs before they go out on tour, and that's what this was. And Flea was playing bass for them. So it was Jane's Addiction with Flea, and it was fucking amazing.
Yeah. So what?
Were there socks involved?
But there's songs.
No socks involved.
Was it clothed?
No, that's more Red Hot Chili Peppers thing. Yeah, no, thanks for the question.
Yeah, I want to say my Coliseum show, McCartney or oddly enough, Lady Gaga. What's up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have time for one more.
So you had it in Bowling Green, which is a small town. I wondered if you were rural, urban, or suburban, and what do you prefer?
So I grew up in a town, it's the area, like, the whole area, it's called the Quad Cities. It's on the Iowa-Illinois border. I grew up on the Illinois side of a little town called Moline, that's like population 36,000. So it was kind of a small town, but yet the area with all the cities in it were about 250,000. So it was a really good, like, sort of middle ground. So it wasn't really, wouldn't call it community. It was somewhere between a small town and super. And I love that. I mean, I moved to Phoenix partially because the grind in LA got to be a bit much, the traffic and stuff. So I have a hard time dealing with that sort of thing.
Yeah, same here. I kind of grew up in that same type of environment. Rural, suburban. I grew up 40 miles north of Pittsburgh. So, and some of you have been to my house. I know.
It was a bus tour.
It was a bus tour. It was a bus tour. It was a bus tour. Did you say that? It was a bus tour in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, you know who I'm talking about. You see my man.
I do know who you are.
No,
You know who you are.
no, you didn't.
I grew up in Fairfield, Connecticut, which is about 45 minutes east of New York City, Fairfield. I worked with the school it was in between your table.
Yeah. Honestly, you're together.
That's suburban.
Yeah. Had access to such
Like yesterday with the signing.
Mine, I'm kind of the same as these guys. I come from Columbia, Missouri, which is a college town. So, you know, when I grew up there, it was more rural. Now it's kind of a small city, I think. It's like a developed college town. But it was a great place to grow up. But I've lived in urban areas ever since then, and I really enjoy it now. Where I live now in Los Angeles, there's a lot of sirens, a lot of activity going on, and it oddly makes me feel comfortable. It's weird, but I'm one of those guys that I can go to sleep with the sound of helicopters and sirens. Just like lock the doors and I'm in safe. I hope I make it through the night. But I grew up in a really nice town called Louden.
About signing everything else?
Yeah, totally.
Helicopters are white noise to me now.
Yep. Well, guys, I think that's the end of our panel. So thank you for being here. And with that is also the end of our onstage portion of the.
Boy, Norton left her very good age.
And that's the end of our drummer. So we're looking for a drummer.
He says thank you, Norton. We have a
Program here. We're gonna finish our onstage portion of the show with a little song we like to sing. And the convention is not over. You're still gonna have your photographs and autographs, meet and greets, but that's the end of the panel. So thank you for staying with us and having such a great weekend. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. We've all been talking about how vocal you are, how much energy you had, and that really keeps us going. So thank you so much.